Ranking Member Walorsky, just let me ask as a practical matter, normal procedure in the Ethics Committee, you receive a complaint, an investigative subcommittee is convened, as I understand, is that the normal procedure?
It can be. If we have conversation and do some preliminary talking back and forth, it can be, and there can be times that an ISC is assigned. But normally, there's at least a conversation.
So that conversation, did that take place in this case?
It did not.
Look, I think there are members on both sides that sometimes have made some of their other colleagues uncomfortable with some of their actions and statements, and certainly wasn't reflective or representative of the decorum of this institution. We heard testimony tonight that we should hold each other to standards. Feel obligated to point out that there was a Democratic member of the House who was potentially compromised on the Committee on Intelligence due to his association with the Chinese national. Did the Ethics Committee ever publicly announce an investigation into this member?
No,
Was there an investigation that was not publicly announced?
no.
Can't say. We had another Democratic member who made statements inciting violence against other House members and against members of the previous administration. Did the Ethics Committee ever publicly announce an investigation into this member?
No.
So now we're considering this legislation in front of us. Most of us haven't even had an hour to review it on another member's action without an Ethics Committee consideration. So what is the threshold that might qualify for the Ethics Committee to publicly investigate similar matters? And I'll ask that question to the chairman or the ranking member.
Ms. Burgess, that's actually an excellent question. The House Ethics Committee can commence an investigation by forming an investigative subcommittee. We can also commence an investigation, the chair and ranking member agreeing to commence an investigation. Ultimately, the Ethics Committee is evenly divided between Democrats and Republicans.
As it should be.
As it should be, and thus it requires at least one vote from the other side in order to have a majority to move forward on an investigation when a vote launches that investigation.
But then again, as a practical matter, you do sometimes proceed, right? I've been here for a few years. I can recall some of your efforts at the Ethics Committee that have actually landed on the House floor. Presumably that was not a unanimous, that was not a party line vote when that occurred.
If you could be specific, I'm not sure what you're getting at, Mr. Burgess.
Well, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee got into some difficulty several years ago and was a subject of censure by the Ethics Committee. Again, presumably that at least one member of his party had to vote with the members of the majority at that time.
Okay.
So it does happen. I mean, it's not impossible.
Sure. I think, Mr. Burgess, it's worth pointing out again, as the chairman did earlier, that I think the reason that we're here is there are no factual questions here. There's a video. I know there's some reference to the fact that this is a new resolution. The video itself has been out there for several weeks, as I recall. It's a video. No, that's not the case.
I don't believe so, but
Several days. The date? It's a week. When was the video? Let's just be clear for the record. When did Representative Gosars
November 4th.
tweet this on his official account? What was the date?
I think it was November 4th is what I've been told.
November 4th. So it I think, strains credibility to suggest that this is somehow new for any member of this committee. That the decision to look at a tweet by a member of Congress on his official account that depicts violence against a fellow member is somehow being discussed for the first time, when I dare say, respectfully, Mr. Burgess, that this is all that most of us have been discussing since Mr. Gosar tweeted this on his official Twitter account at a time that we are just months away from the attacks on our Capitol.
Well, I'll just say in my own case, I did not hear about this until I had returned. I was involved with veterans activities all last week. Can't say that I had heard or devoted any thought, or I didn't even see the cartoon until today. I presume you've watched it, Mr. Deutsch? Have you watched the video? I did. Ranking Member Walorsky, did you watch it? I mean, subtle is the word that I would, it doesn't apply in this case, but it wasn't overt. When I saw it the first time, I had to look at it several times before I got the same impression that everyone's been talking about. It's almost as if we've elevated this and now made it more of a problem than it ever was. And I wonder why we do that sometimes. Well, it does concern me that the Rules Committee is now becoming the Committee of Political Expediency when we want to remove a member from their committee assignments. And I do agree with the ranking member of the Rules Committee that there is the possibility that there will be a different structure in the House of Representatives in the next Congress. And I don't want to see this type of activity continue. I don't think it's right when you do it. It won't be right if we do it. And it's, I think we all have an obligation to treat each other with respect. But at the same time, I don't think it shows great respect for the Rules Committee for us to be having this discussion tonight. And I'll yield back.